I'm Melissa, this is Martin, Haley, and Maddie, and we're cruising America's Great Loop on our boat Cavalier. We welcome you to hop aboard and share in this journey with us.
All right, well, welcome back to the Cavalier for another episode of Cruising with Cavaliers. Happy cheers. So I think where we left off last time was we were in Steinhatchee, and we were getting ready to move along the Big Bend. So what we had our plan for the day was we were leaving, and there was several boats leaving with us, and we were going to go down. A couple of the boats wanted to run all the way down to Tarpon Springs, and it's a long ride, and we were going, well, we'll get out there and we'll decide if we're gonna go along with that or not, and see how it's going, because we didn't want to get in there too late. So we got out there and got out and started going, and it was getting rough. It was getting a little rough, and then but it wasn't too bad. We could have kept going, but. We started having, we were running the boat up on plane, and probably about 15 knots or so, and I started losing power, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I came back down, we went back up, and it was okay, and started again. So we decided at that point we were not going to make it all the way into Tarpon Springs, so we changed our plans and went into Cedar Key. And eventually I figured out what the problem was. Is I had to change out one of my fuel filters, one of my ray cores. I had to change out, so that got fixed later, not a problem. So that got us into Cedar Key, and Cedar Key is pretty cool. There's no real marinas there that boats of our size can stay in, but there's good anchorages, and you can dinghy right into the shore. And that's basically what we did. There was 2 or 3 boats that were in there with us. There were loopers, fellow loopers, and we got in there fairly early actually, and launched the dinghy. Went in. It was kind of cool. You go into this little bridge into this back bay, and we tied up the dinghy and went and walked around this little waterfront fishing. There's just tons of restaurants. I mean, I didn't even count how many there was, but. We picked one towards the end where we could see our boat floating around out there, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And it was a great. I think it was Duncan's on the bay or something like that. Remember. Really, just a fun place. They had great food. I had another great grouper sandwich. There was another couple there we were just chit chatting with all the time, and they were playing the little ring game, and they were really good.
They were really good.
Way too good, for us. But it was fun. We had a couple beers and just sat, did that.
So the other thing is the dinghy, you can dinghy in, but not in low tide.
Yeah, I know.
Because the next morning, we were getting ready to pull the anchor up and we were going to take the dogs in, and we started to dinghy the way we went yesterday, and it's like, that's land. There
was nothing there. There was no water in the entire bay.
No, not in that part. Yeah,
it was all dry.
So we did some little research, and we found a little spot to get on.
Yeah,
but
we went around the other side.
If it was low tide, you're not getting in on the dinghy. At least we didn't.
Yeah, it was funny because we actually got back on shore, and when we were walking the dogs around, and we walked over to where we had launched our dinghy or landed our dinghy on the other side, so we could look at that whole bay and go, there isn't a drop of water in this entire bay. It was like, wow. Okay, we got to pay a little more attention to the tides of it.
Yes.
So anyway, that was really fun. I would highly recommend Cedar Key. It was, cool town, really cool town.
Yeah, the anchor was really nice.
Yeah, so we're just swinging on a hook all night, really peaceful. Really cool. Hey babe, there's our boat out there.
That's us, right there. Okay, right there.
Up and go, a big world is out there waiting for us to live in every day.
So we made it to Cedar Key.
Yes, we did. The boat's anchored out in there, and we're in here at a restaurant with the doggies.
Yep, checking out this little town, another funky little town on
we're at Duncan's,
Florida's
Duncan's
coast.
on the Gulf.
It's the same, it's just a different,
Oh,
okay.
Wow, that was great.
And it's a beautiful time to be here, to be.
Okay, so what we're going to to talk about in this part of the video is the big Gulf crossing, because it is big open water, and you can't follow the shore around the Gulf. It's too shallow. So there's two ways people can cross the Gulf. They do, one of them is you do a 170-mile direct shot, an overnight crossing for those trawlers or boats our speed, or boats that just simply don't want to throw away a ton of money on burning a heck of a lot of fuel. So you can go straight across overnight, or you can go what they call the Big Bend route, which takes you up in the around the some people call it the armpit of Florida. I wouldn't do that because it's actually really cool.
It's really nice.
There's a bunch of really historic, old style Florida towns up there, and with a lot of history and everything else. So we decided we were going to do the Big Bend route, and instead of doing a one-night crossing, you do it in 3 or 4 stages. Left off last time was we were at Cedar Key, and great place. So the next morning, again, we talked about trying to get the dogs, but our plan for this day was to get out and run down to Tarpon Springs. And it was going to be about a 75-mile run or something like that. But it was all going to be pretty big water. So we got out there, got out of the channel, which was kind of meandering and kind of a little hard to get up because it was low, not low tide, but it was lower tide. So we had a little challenge getting out of there. Had to go real slow, and then we got out in the Gulf and started running down, and the seas just kept building, and they were building and building and building. It was finally getting to the point where we couldn't run at speed anymore, so there was no way we were going to make it to Tarpon Springs. And when we came down, I pretty much asked Melissa, "You want to just go to Crystal River?"
I said, "Crystal River,
Crystal
please."
River is it. So we ducked in again and came in, and as soon as we got closer to shore, it died down, and it was fine.
Yeah, you make it sound like it was just like, oh, it's some rough waters. It was like,
yeah, we were slamming around pretty good.
We came down, and the couch was like over here, and everything had fallen off, and I came down, and just anything that hadn't fallen off, I put on the ground because it was going to get there, and it was pretty rocky.
It was pretty rocky.
I was holding on for dear life.
I was having a hand steer for quite a while just to keep us, keep us not too bad.
He did great. He did phenomenal. I'm so proud of him. But it was like, oh my goodness. And poor little Haley, she threw up a little.
Yeah.
Maddie sat in this little spot that's like about this big, and she just like hung her little head
on the
down.
helm chair, there's a little way she could wedge herself in there, and she just wedged
She's
herself
like,
in
if
there.
I can't see this, it's not happening.
So yeah, I make a little bit light of it, but it was I didn't want to put Melissa through that. So we got out of it and came in, and that brought us into Crystal River, which we had talked about coming here anyway. It's one of the stops. A lot of people say one of the must stops along the Big Bend route, because it's a cool little town. But the real draw here is it's the manatees. Basically, it's all about the manatees. What it is Crystal River is a series of springs, I guess, somewhere up way more inland. But it's a bunch of fresh water that keeps coming out, and it's the same temperature, like 70 degrees year round, and it's fresh water, so it pretty much keeps the salt water out, and the manatees just love it. And the whole thing is protected manatee zones. You can swim with the manatees. You can go up there. Well, we launched the dinghies, us and another buddy boat. We launched our dinghies and went up the Crystal River a little bit, and it was just, there's tons of people out. There's people everywhere, canoeing, kayaking on little boats, everything that floats was going up and down this thing.
Yeah, and there were manatees everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was like, and we actually saw one that we think was, it was a mama and a little baby.
Yeah.
We think because there was a little one and a big one.
Yeah, several of them actually.
Yeah.
We saw quite a few pairs like that,
Yeah.
so this must be one of their nursing grounds.
Oh, and there were some of the people that they had their snorkel stuff on, and they were in the water, and this one, and this guy was like petting it and stuff, and it rolled on its back like it wanted belly rub, and he's like giving it the
it wasn't
belly
just
rub.
a belly rub. It was like moving around. It's like, okay, now over here, okay, now over here, and it was just
it was super cool.
They're super cool. It really is. It's one of the highlights of the trip we've had so far.
Yeah.
It was just fun, and it was just cool. We were pretty much we were in a dinghy, and most of the time we killed the engine, and I was just rowing the boat around because again, you want to keep it peaceful, and it's all about just looking at the manatees and everything else. So that was really cool. And then we came back and we dinghied over to a restaurant, and dinghy up restaurant. Because we're not all dinghy passengers, but we tied our dinghy up and walked up to the restaurant. Had a really nice meal again, and I had another grouper sandwich, which was fantastic. Can't get enough of that grouper. Black and grouper is the only way to go. So anyhow, that's it. Crystal River was pretty cool.
It's very cool. I'm glad that I'm not glad for the reason that we had to come here, but I'm really glad that we did come here. So now we're waiting on there's like a little, when they talk about weather windows, they mean it. There's like, Martin's been excellent at, he's tracking the tides to get in and out because it's shallow, the wind, the waves, all the stuff that makes things bad or good. And it looks like Tuesday is the day we have to go.
Right.
Well, we're hoping that
it stays. It's looking like it's all going to work. It's all the stars are all aligning. Like for instance, today, the waves were predicted out there at only like 1.5 feet. But if you look at the wind is coming straight up the Gulf of Mexico at like 15 to 20 knots, and we were seeing 30-knot winds here today. So it was, and the direction of the wind is important because it's what they call fetch, where wind over long stretches of water. Fetch is how much water the wind gets to come over, and when it's coming straight up the Gulf, the waves can build and build and build, and way bigger than predicted. So I wouldn't have doubted if we wouldn't have seen 6-footers out there today, how much the wind increased in the direction of them. So when we're looking at Tuesday, what's going to happen is the winds are dying down, but almost as importantly, it's shifting around to the east, so they'll be blowing offshore. So there's a very little fetch for them to build big waves. So the waves that are predicted will probably be the waves that we see because of that. So anyhow, that's how we look at it. So that's our right now. Tuesday is looking at it. A couple days from now, we'll see what it does.
So we're hoping some point in our lifetime we will end up in Tarpon Springs.
In Tarpon Springs. It's like the place we can't get to.
Something's keeping us from getting there every single day. So we'll see. We'll get there.
We'll get there. It's been fun. We're having a lot of fun. So.
We are, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and happy trails. We'll see you next time. Living the dream, baby.
Yep.
There's our friends.
Our friends.
Devin and Dolly.
Got a little dinghy flotilla going.
Yep.
Knows, crazy as life goes, we'll write a story we tell to a very own. So let's live, lost in the moment, taking it all in as we go. You know I'm counting on you now, running. Stay with me, let it keep on coming.
Are they soft or?
They're kind of leathery.
The world is in constant motion. You stay with me through the strange emotion. You and I, we will make it through. Yeah, let's go into the unknown, letting our lives flow. Together we'll lose control.
Hey girls, you ready for your walk? Let's go check out this park.
See